Hey guys, welcome back to Cap Views. So today I needed to talk to you guys about the Snyder Cut. So finally, I'm finally doing my review of Zack Snyder's Justice League. So you're probably wondering why it's taken me so long to do it, and I didn't put it up immediately. And that's because I've watched the film 3 times already. 3 times. This is like how much I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I feel like it's not a surprise that I enjoyed this film. Up there in terms of DC films, in terms of comic book films, and just cinema in general. Like, it's such a good film. It's so beautiful and it's so well made. And I feel like for me, this film, I love it for so many reasons. But like, one of the main reasons I love it is just, it's like, for me, it's up there in like cinematic history of filmmaking. Like, it's just really beautiful filmmaking. And writing, and it's just the acting, everything is just done at its best. It really is. This film is so much more fleshed out than the 2017 Justice League that we got. It's so much more than what we got. It's like everything that had holes in the first one, all those holes have been filled in. All of it makes sense now. It's just great. Literally from like right at the start, it's like got a different take. Now, obviously, you guys know, if you watch my channel, or if you're new here and you don't know, I do give spoilers. I don't do spoiler-free reviews because ain't nobody got time for that. I just want to tell you guys my thoughts and everything. So I'm gonna try not to make it too long, although I'm known for doing long videos. I can't help it, but like, it's a 4-hour movie, so just give me a break, guys. So anyway, so yeah, so starting off, like, creatively, Zack made some different choices, obviously, that they decided for whatever reason, I don't know why, but they didn't put a lot of this, so much of it into the first movie. It's like a completely different movie. And when people are sitting there saying that it's just a director's cut, or it's just like a few edits of the same thing, it's not. It's like a completely different tone in the movie. The like, characters are completely different in the dialogue, and just the tone, the mood, the way that they feel. Like, it just literally feels like almost like different characters portrayed in a different way as well, but in the same like context. Like, you still got your DC heroes, still a DC comic book film, but it doesn't feel like that sometimes. It doesn't feel very DC comic book. It just really feels like a very well made film. And a lot of the time, because Zack focuses on the human factor, the human element of these characters, as well as obviously the godlike superhero factors, that's definitely in there as well. But there's so much more focus on the humanity in all of these characters, and the flaws, and what's, the tragedies that have befallen them, and then what's brought them together, basically, and what's made them who they are. And it's just really cool to see. It's really amazing. And so I feel like that just changes it. Whereas, I think that the 2017 version was just this popcorn blockbuster, candy, superhero try and wannabe version, and it just wasn't working for a lot of people. I think it was just made a certain way for a very, very specific demographic to market and for sales and whatnot. And it wasn't really for the fans, and it lacked so much care. I feel like there's just so much more heart and so much more love in this film, in my opinion. So it's night and day to me. So basically, we start off with Supes obviously dying, but it's done completely differently. What I really loved is, again, I just want to, I'll give you guys my nitpicks of what I didn't like, but I'm also going to give you my nitpicks of what I did like. Like, I want to focus in on the little things that I think maybe some people might have missed, or I love the attention to detail. So I just wanted to point that out, because Zack does such a good job of doing that in his film. So, he focuses in and highlights everything that's like important. And then there's all these moments in this movie that just like, they're cut, and they're just cinematic history. They really are. They're just beautiful shots. It's not just how the shot is framed, it's how he tells a story with just an angle of something, and a cut with like 2 seconds, and then you cut to something else, and it just continuously tells his story through imaging, and it's beautiful. Like, the fact that, this is why I love cinematography. It's not just how you frame a shot, or how cool it visually looks. It's just it's also about how you're telling the story through the shot, through the lens, so to speak. Okay, so first of all, we obviously start off with the death of Superman. Now, this is really not a spoiler, but I'm gonna say it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But so in the trailer, you see like his death cry ring out, and I talked about this in my trailer review because I've been doing updates leading up to this film, obviously. But you see his death cry, and it symbolizes the bell being rung, and the everybody hearing it, including evil, obviously. And it is so much more in depth in this first sequence, this first scene, where you actually see it go not just all over the city, but all over the world. And you see it hit different places. And I love the way that was done. Specifically when it went to the Atlanteans, that was so cool. The Amazon one was really dope as well. That was just beautiful. I mean, there's like, this movie's gorgeous. The cinematic shots, like, it's just these landscape shots that are taken, and I'm gonna put up screenshots throughout this whole thing, because you guys need to see. Like, it's such a small, like, little window that you're gonna see it in, but like, I hope you see the movie, because it's just beautiful to experience. But when when you see the camera, it's like the camera is basically, it's like you're the sound wave. You're this sound wave following, going into every part of the world, and like you're hitting all these important factions of the world, the Atlanteans, the Amazons, mankind hears the death cry. Everybody hears this death. It's almost like a earthquake vibration around the entire world that is heard around everybody's heard it. And there's this one shot that Zack does, and it's like the camera's going, and you start to see like the speckles of water hit, as if the sound wave is going down to go into the water, and that little like special effect that he decided to put in there was so cool. Just to start off, I mean, the whole thing with the sound waves through coming out of like Superman was amazing in the first place, and then you echo it through, and you see these panoramic shots that are just continuing throughout, and it like hitting different places, and you see how everybody reacts to it. It was awesome. It was like it was a great start to the film. So much more depth than the original movie. And so so you see the camera pan, and it just drops down into the water, like, and so it's like the camera is following this sound wave, and it just shows you how you're going everywhere, and everybody reacts to it. It cuts, and then you see the reactions to that sound. It was just so cool. I could sit here and talk about this for so long, and I'm gonna make this. This is gonna be like a review / discussion, because there's no way that I can sit here and just talk about this for like 5 minutes. It's not gonna happen. I watched the movie also, by the way, guys. I was so engrossed in this movie. It didn't feel like 4 hours to me. Also, that's a 4-hour movie. So if you're concerned about, sitting down for 4 hours, like, I don't know, it's hard for me to say anything about that, because I binge watch like 12-hour seasons of a show. Like, I'm a hardcore like cinephile, so like I just love movies and TV and just anything that's cinema and just filmmaking. I just love it. So like, I love seeing what filmmakers create on the big screen for us. I love seeing these stories, and you guys know I'm such a cinema buff and all that stuff. So for me, it didn't feel like 4 hours at all. It actually felt like maybe 2.5 hours. And I say that because the first 2 hours really is the first Justice League movie that we saw, but fixed, basically. So that's pretty much the first 2 hours of the film, because that film was 2 hours, I believe. The 2017 Justice League was 2 hours. So he's basically just corrected everything and somehow still done it in the 2-hour period, also adding other things, which is Zack Snyder. But the way I watched it, going back to that, I watched it completely in the dark with my 55-inch TV, which is not, I mean, it's alright. It's not that big. I mean, I have it in my bedroom, literally. I'm like looking at it now. So it's like literally like a couple of meters away from my bed. So it's like, usually when I use it for gaming. So when I game, like, I usually sit pretty close. So it's like very immersive. So I try and emulate cinema as much as I can, because I don't really go out. So Yeah, so it's I mean it's pretty dope. It's 4K, it's an Ultra HD TV, like, and that's how this was shot, like shown as well, by the way. It had Dolby Digital and Dolby Atmos sound, I think, and so it was just it was so cool. I mean, I'm not gonna lie though, I used my JBL headphones, so like it was I wanted to completely immerse myself in the experience, and that's usually how I watch films. I watch them alone, in the dark, in complete silence and quiet. I believe that's how you should watch this film. Please don't watch it with like screaming children around. I know that sometimes people can't help that, but like don't watch it with screaming children around. Don't watch it with like your friends that talk through movies. Don't do it to yourself. Don't do it to the movie. Do it justice. Watch it alone when you've got the time, and you can really like really immerse yourself in the experience, because I feel like that's what not is only to owed to the film, but you owe it to yourself, because it's such an experience having it by yourself, and then you can go watch it again with your friends, whatever. But I mean, I watched it 3 times by myself because I'm anal like that, and I just really wanted to thoroughly experience it and then give you guys my full review, because like the first time there were things I didn't like about it, and I stand by that. So like when I watched it 3 times, I still don't like the things I didn't like the first time, and I wanted to like really see if that was the case. And the reason being is because and again, I love the movie. I didn't dislike the movie. Just even these are nitpicks that it wasn't perfect, but it was up there. And the reason I did that is because there was so much hype about this film for so long. And I feel like, honestly, with that much hype, it's extremely difficult to hit that bar. Extremely difficult. So I don't want to take away from the film. So anyway, I watched it 3 times, completely engrossed, completely immersed, hanging off every single thing in this movie. Didn't take my eyes away for a second. Didn't take a snack break. I don't need to. I'm a seasoned professional at this point and watching movies. So 4 hours went by really quick for me. But again, it went by very quick for me because that first 2 hours, it's like I've seen so much of this movie. And so the add-ons that Zack did, I mean, it's like there were a few like seconds, sometimes to minutes, of scenes that were added in to just tell the story better, to flesh out these characters, to flesh out this arc that these characters follow, and to just tell the overall story and how it all joins. Like it's just so simple how it's just so different. Like it's so well done and so simplistically done. Like the cinematography, like so the cinematic choices of shots that were taken, to the score that was different. Like the score made so much difference to the dialogue. So like all these little components in like literally seconds at times made so much more impact than the first film did, which is mind blowing. That like you can just add just a little bit, and it's just so fulfilling, really. So one particular scene is at the start scene where Wonder Woman is saving the children from those bad guys. In the first movie, they looked like goons. They were not taken seriously at all. It was kind of like cheesy and cartoony, and I feel like I just didn't like it. This time around, it was so much better, and it made the enemies look more menacing. Now, still no match for Wonder Woman, of course, but it made them look more menacing. It made them look like real bad guys in a real big blockbuster kind of movie. It didn't make it feel like an animated DC film, which is cool in its own right, but this is a live action film, and like the tone of this whole movie was so much more serious. Everything was done with precision, I feel like. And so this time, it was really cool. Like you're focusing on the suitcase, and there was this dope ass score behind that was like amping up the situation, and basically the music accentuates the story. So it was like basically like hyping you up to tell you this shit is serious right now. Like you gotta focus, but it's cool, but it's badass, but it's serious. And these are really bad guys, and they're gonna do something really bad. And the whole scene, like it was just done so much better. The whole sequence, I should say, not just particularly one scene. There were a few scenes that were altered slightly, so that's why I said scene. But for me, the carrying in the suitcase really stood out for me. I believe when she comes in, that was changed slightly. There were some moves that were really cool that weren't there before. So that was really cool to see. Just to see Diana doing badass shit is always awesome. To see Warrior Wonder Woman is really cool. Um, and yeah, and it was just so much better. And then there was this shot. Oh my goodness, you guys, I'm gonna put it up. Obviously, it's gonna be up here or somewhere up there. But there was this shot. Oh my gosh! And so she's like, when she throws up the explosive suitcase, and then she's like underneath, and like you guys will see, it's just beautiful. It's such a cool shot, and like that's just it. All of these things, like the whole movie, it doesn't stop. The whole movie is cinematic like this. The whole fucking movie, and every single character, every main character, even side characters, every single one was focused in on so much more. Every single one had the story told so much more. I mean, Cyborg and Flash had so much more in this movie, but not only did they have more in this movie, but they had pivotal roles. They were pivotal to the Justice League. They weren't just brushed aside. Cyborg wasn't just non-existent. His whole story was basically, his origin story was told in this movie. This was basically like at points a Cyborg movie. And then Flash, I mean, Barry Allen was so much better in this film. It was so much more well done. You see some singular stuff with him and Iris, which was, oh my lordy. I've seen that scene with him and Iris so many times. It was so beautiful. Some people didn't like the hot dog situation. I liked it. I mean, like the cute thing for the dogs, and it was just funny. I just couldn't with that scene. That scene was so beautiful because not only is it showing the emotion that Barry feels connected towards Iris, like from just like love at first sight kind of a thing, but you see like what he goes through when he stops everything and everyone's walking and everything is like in disaster mode in slow motion, and you see him like, and he's the only one that, and what it must feel like for him to be in that position. It was just so cool to see the perspective of these characters from how they would feel, and also to be, to have explained what they've actually gone through. I mean, we actually found out not only who Victor Stone really is, because we saw his story, his origin story, his relationship with his father, his relationship with his mother, who he was before he became a cyborg, which was such a good person, and then how that manifested and was eventually implemented into him as a cyborg. Not only that, but we also see him, we see him grow as a person, even though he's cyborg now, and go through this, heartache and this like experience where he's just angry, and it's, I feel like, so relatable. And then he overcomes that to help other people, to help people and embrace who he is and this change. And not only that, but we understand how Cyborg works, who Cyborg is as a machine, not just the person, and how he connects with other machines. It's fucking amazing what they did with him. It's just, it made every single hero feel worthy of the Justice League, and it made you understand why all these heroes come together, why the Justice League is so infamous because of all these heroes, because Zack made them each look formidable. It was really awesome to see. I mean, each one brings something different to the table, and it's very valuable. And it's like, when Batman is saying that, there's 6 of us, when they're referring to Supes and bringing him back, we're nothing without him. Like, it's really interesting to see, because it's like a family, and you can't, you cut one arm off and it doesn't function the same way. They all work together in this movie, unlike the first movie. Like, they actually work together, and it's beautiful to see. So yeah, it was really cool for me to see like all of the team working together. Everybody actually got equal screen time. It was so fucking dope. My favorite sequence, one of my favorite sequences, I feel like there could have been a little bit more action. One of my favorite sequences was the sequence where they're fighting to get the nest down, and Batman goes in to destroy everything, and he really like is such a different version of himself as well. Again, like I mentioned this before, but the characters feel so much different. I mean, Diana feels pretty much like the OG Diana, except this time she's not doing this back and forth bullshit with Ben Affleck's character. She's actually leading the team in moments, and so is Batman. Batman's actually a leader and he's positive and he's like, I've spent so much time dividing us and I need to bring us back together. And he does that so well in this movie. He's like just such a good Batman. It's so satisfying to see Batman be badass again because I feel like he's been done dirty many times in over the past couple of movies. And I just wanted to see that badass Batman. This was so fucking, oh my goodness, as a Batman fan, this was everything. This was so good. From like the car he drives, like the way he's driving the car, to like the actual Batmobile, because you see there's a lot of Mercedes placements here. But like it just looks so dope. And like the bat suit and like the goggles when he's in that, not just a nightmare sequence, but like when they're doing that sequence where he's taking down everything and he's wearing the goggles and he's flying the big jet. Oh my goodness me. And then the Batmobile, and then it was so good. And he's doing all these like drops where he's like his bat suit and his cape is just like flying like beautifully, gloriously, like some big bat wings in the sky and then in the moonlight. Oh, it's just so beautiful to see. And then all this stuff is going on around him, and like the parademons are like shooting at him, and he's just like gliding through and like being badass and like doing rolls and like kicking the shit out of them. And then you cut to like Wonder Woman doing the same thing, and Wonder Woman saves him quite a lot also. And then you cut to like Aquaman, and there was like one scene with Aquaman where the parademons are like shooting at him, and he just like jumps and like flies through. And it's again, these are cinematic shots. Even this Zack does a lot of slow-mo where he does these cinematic slow-mo shots through action sequences, through everything really, but like in action sequence, he just does it throughout the whole film. And it's very cool and satisfying to see. I'm not gonna lie to you, like all the time. I love the slow-mo shots. But in an action sequence, when you really see like this, because it ups the stakes. It shows you how high the stakes really are, because you see these like bullets flying past. Same with Wonder Woman, where you see her and she moves her head and the bullet's right there. But like to see like Aquaman do it is really cool, and like he flies up in the air and throws his trident and like gets two parademons at the same time. It was just it was beautiful. It was so good to see. I mean, there was so much, and like there was these epic battle sequences, like they referenced the first the first big fight with Darkseid, the main villain. And they talk about like all of the world and all of the factions basically coming together, mankind and the Atlanteans and the Amazons and like all of the heroes and the Green Lanterns there, and like there's all these, Zeus is there with like fucking Ares, which was so fucking cool to see. Like it was just so cool. I was like, oh my goodness. And Ares looked so fucking more formidable like than this bullshit version he was with Diana. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed watching Diana kick his ass, but like it was just so cool. And you see Zeus and and Ares working together. I really want to know who the lady was. Can someone tell me? The lady with the she had like a lightning arm, and she like shot the arrow that like destroyed the like the ship that one of the ships that Darkseid had. I want to know who she was. She looked really fucking cool. I want to see her in some upcoming movies or shows. She looked fucking dope. Or like a version of her, obviously, because it was like, that was the olden days. The Age of Heroes, as they call it. That was just there was so many epic sequences in this movie. This movie was, like I said, it was just cinematic beauty. It really was. Also, what I found really interesting is there was like some of the scenes were done differently, and again, my nitpick to attention to detail, the positives about it. There was some really cool scenes, like I mentioned, the one where they go into the water with the Atlanteans. Another one was where you see Lois, walking out of a cafe, and the music, the score was so beautiful. I love the music choices for the most part that Zack chooses, because every single one, like, it's the lyrics as well. It's not just the melody. It's like the lyrics, and if you listen to what it's saying, like there was one sequence where it starts off and Lois is walking out of a cafe, and it's like a slow-mo shot of her just walking in the rain, and you see like the Daily Planet come through, and it's like these little things that Zack is really telling the story. He's focusing, he's making a point, he's trying to show you how this person feels without them saying a single word. Shot where it comes up to the police car and you just see the drops of rain hitting the bonnet. Oh, it was beautiful. It was just stunning. And then she stands there and she's looking at the monument, the Superman monument, and like the score is playing, the music's playing, and the lyrics are, you said our gods would outlive us, but you lied, and it's just so beautiful. Like it's just perfect. And there's just all these moments like that, and the acting is there. Everyone does their job. Even Lois is less annoying in this movie. The Flash is so much less annoying in this movie. All of the cheesy lines have really been cut out. For the most part, and everything that's left in is still just done better because it's fleshed out around it. So it doesn't make it like sink so much as it did the first time around. It rather highlights everything else, and makes it feel better, makes it feel more smooth in how you're receiving it, I feel like. But yeah, there's so much like that. And another sequence was when, Batman's going to visit Aquaman for the first time, and it was really cool how you see like the A for the Aquaman. I thought that was really cool how they implemented that into like the structure of the village, and how they had these like big A sort of arches with like it looked like wind charms, or like dream catchers or something. But that was really cool. It was like I was like, that's the Aquaman A. Like, that was really dope. And you didn't see that in the first movie. And I was like, why? Why didn't you just add these little things, these little touches that make it really cool? Like, I mean, it's beyond me. But anyway, that was really fucking dope. That whole scene was done so much more serious. The tone was, like, better. It's just so much better. And again, everything just looks so much better. Like, everyone looks gorgeous and beautiful. There are some shots of, like, Aquaman in here that are just stunning. I don't know, just the way that it was shot was so much better. It just looks amazing. Even with the 4:3 ratio, it doesn't even bother me. Like, you get so much in that frame. And a lot of the things were more expanded in a way as well. Another thing that I noticed was, who is the blonde chick? We have to talk about this blonde chick. Like, so I'm gonna put up a screenshot. Who is this chick? Because they started singing, and I really like the singing sequence, by the way, because, you see Bruce's face, and you see, like this despair, and this, like, almost, like, hopelessness for a moment when Aquaman basically says he's not going to help, and he says, you're crazy, and whatever. And, you see him thinking about Superman because he mentions that, and they start singing, and, like, you see it on his face for, like, a moment. And also, you can see that sequence is so much different. It's not like to look cool where Aquaman jumps in the water and it does that like shoot off thing in the water. It's like a drop in the ocean kind of a look, and it's like you see that scene where he just sort of like slowly swims away, and it's almost like Bruce's chance of helping is slowly slipping away, the way that Superman slipped away. And then you cut back and you see that on his face with the music in the back and the women singing, and it was just beautiful. It was like right there. And then, he leaves, and you see this blonde chick who's singing, and she walks up and she picks up his sweater, Jason Momoa's Aquaman sweater, and she smells it, and she looks, and she sings, and there's this emotion that happens. And to me, guys, this looks like a bit more. This looks like a romantic connection. Like, I was thinking about this for so long. I was like, okay, could like this baby mama on the village, because like this is obviously pre-Aquaman, and we see that with Mira. Like, we see that he leaves Mira basically and he stays on land. In one of the sequences he says, I'm going to go visit my father and everything like that. And I think that's when after he comes back, and then obviously Aquaman happens. But before that, it's like, well, what happened all this time that he hasn't been in Atlantis? Because, Aquaman he doesn't associate with the Atlanteans. He didn't like them for such a long time. You see that origin, parts of that origin story play out in this movie like we did before. So it's like, what happened before that though? Because he's been on land a lot. And this blonde woman, it looks like something more. It looks like something romantic. I find it very interesting. Like, is she going to not replace Mira, but is there going to be like some sort of like third wheel situation where it then focuses on Aquaman's life before he becomes Aquaman, and then it sort of flashes back to where he is now, and we see this other side and this other story, so maybe there's less involvement with Mira. I still love Amber Heard. I know everyone wants to shit on her and whatever, but I love Amber Heard as an actor. I think she's a really good actor. I think she plays Mira very well. I think there's only potential for her to be a better badass Mira. I think we haven't seen like Mira really kick ass to the capabilities of that character, and I think Amber Heard can do it. But it was super interesting to me that I saw one that situation where I was like, that feels different because that felt like a romantic connection between Aquaman and this blonde lady. The second thing I noticed, which made me question things a little bit, which I haven't been doing up until now, but now I'm like, oh shit, which was that Mira's British accent seems much more pronounced and thick in this movie. Did anybody else notice that? Because I had to go back and watch it, and I was like, she didn't sound like this in the first one. Like she had a twinge of it, but like everyone sound like even the Atlanteans when they come. Like there's a scene where there's like one of the guards and he talks to her. Like, you didn't all sound like this before? Like and I don't know if that was done because Zack Snyder watched like parts of it and he was like, can you guys actually like put on a normal British accent or not be like half British, half American, like in the first movie, or like if it was done for a very specific reason, like I don't know, because Amelia Clark might replace Amber Heard because she's British. Like I don't know. I mean, I don't think that's what it is. Like it would be, I don't know, it'd be really weird. But like there was that, and then there's even the scene where she was out and her hair was like a very long, almost like a pale orange. It wasn't like the shorter, bright, vibrant red. And like so, I don't know if that was just because it was a different time in this movie, but I don't know. I was like, like I said, I was very like engrossed in every little detail of this film, and so I just sort of felt like I picked up on these things the same way I picked up on, which I didn't see until the second time I watched this movie, which was Zack Snyder makes a cameo in that scene where Lois is walking out of the diner with the coffee, which was so dope. It was so suave and so smooth and so cool. And so Zack makes the cameo in that, and then also Lois is pregnant, which I was like, oh shit. I was like, oh no, we're gonna have a baby Soups. Like, so Lois is pregnant, which I didn't notice until the second time I watched this film. Um, and then she dies. I mean, in the nightmare sequence, of course, in Apocalypse, like she gets killed because Darkseid like Omega beams her body. So you see that because you see Superman holding her like charred remains, and he's like completely destroyed, and then Darkseid puts his hand over him, and he's like, come to the dark side basically, and you see it on Superman's face, and then it cuts and it shows the nightmare sequence at the end of the movie where you see evil Superman, and he's like killed Green Lantern, he's killed Batman, Wonder Woman dies. Like there's this moment in the actual film before that nightmare sequence like sort of showcases what it has become. So it's like a fast forward, it's like the epilogue basically at the end of the film, and you have all these parts, you have all these chapter times, which I really love that Zack did. And again, it's a cinematic, like you can't knock all this movie cinema is what I want to make the point of that, because this movie is brilliant. And yeah, so it has all these chapter times and all these different parts, and it's so well done. It really feels quite like on an epic scope when you're watching this movie, and all these parts cutting in between, like it fades to black, shows you the part, and it's just so well done. But there is a scene where we go before this happens, and there's a moment where they're bringing back Soups, and it's done very differently this time. Cyborg's, a very big influence in a lot of this movie, as he is in this, and he has to take a big part of obviously bringing back Superman because he has to connect with the mother boxes, and then Barry has to like ignite, when it hits the water with a charge with his flash situation, and and Cyborg has this like flash when he like connects, and he sees everything. He sees Wonder Woman die. He sees Aquaman die by Darkseid, and he sees what the world would have been if he goes ahead with this decision. And I thought it was really cool because he whispers no after he sees it, and then Barry's like, did you say go? And then he's like, whoosh, and he starts going, and you're just like, no. And then I'm like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? No. Like, because I saw that, and like, to be fair, I didn't feel so traumatized like I thought I would be. I was a little bit traumatized because when I saw Wonder Woman dead, I was like, oh my god, because I was so nervous before watching this film because I had heard things, and I was like, is he gonna kill all of them? Please don't. Like, okay, you're gonna kill Wonder Woman, but is she gonna come back? Like, she's gonna come back, right? And I was like losing my shit. I was a little bit nervous about the darkness of Zack Snyder's movie, because I know Zack goes dark, and I'm all for it. I love it. I've said this before, but I was a little bit nervous. I was just like, just make sure you bring him back, Zack. Because yeah, there was talk about the obviously superheroes dying, the nightmare sequence as well, and then the fact that it was going to be left on a cliffhanger. So I like put all these pieces together, and I just kind of freaked out a tad before watching the movie. But I was very pleasantly surprised as to how it actually went down. And so after that scene happened, you're like, holy shit, is like Superman now gonna go evil and it's all gonna like transpire into this? But it doesn't. Thank God. It doesn't. And what I loved again about the sequence where fast forward that sequence where they're taking down a nest and they're all fighting the parademons and they're all going against like Steppenwolf together. It was so fucking dope. Like everybody had a part to play. Wonder Woman like and Batman have a completely different chemistry in this movie. Like it looks like they're gonna get together. And I'm not gonna lie, I read the storyboards and I want Wonder Woman to get with Batman. I know I never thought I would say this, but I kind of like it. I feel like she just matches him, you know, like especially the end scene where you see Bruce, you know, talk about like there's room for more in the manor about bringing a table and having all the league members sit there, and Diana walks in and it's just they just match each other. They just do. They're both just badass bosses, and I just think like Bruce is a bit too dark for her, for Diana to be fair, so like I don't think it would really last that long, but I just think it's kind of an interesting little dynamic to put that chemistry in there at least, or to just have this flirting, and it's like, you know, she protects him and then he protects her and she protects him a lot. I mean, she protects a lot of the team, like she's always the first one to go in, like she's so different to the first movie. She's such a leader and a defender, and so is Bruce in this movie as well. Like Bruce really, you know, comes into his own as a character and he's so much more positive and happy, and it's just like, whoa, it's kind of cool to see like Batman be this like leader, in control, confident role. Like that's how Batman is, that's who Batman is. Like it's so dope to see that he's like right out of a you know, out of the games or something, and it's just so cool. But in that sequence, you know, and I just want to point out that Diana saves Bruce a lot, and you'll see that. But there's so much cool shit about that sequence. That's my favorite action sequence. And like I said, I wish there were a few more, but that is my favorite one. Like it's just so well done. Like you see the Batmobile, and it all starts off with Bruce, and he's doing all his stuff, and he breaks in, and he's so badass. And then Wonder Woman comes and saves him twice. By the way, she saves him twice, just in that sequence alone. And then he saves her, and there's this scene where at one point, like he's riding the Batmobile, and all the heroes join, and there's this fucking shot, and it was so badass. It was so dope where there's this shot and they're all like right above the Batmobile and they're just going, and it's like that's the Justice League. It was like, oh, like it was just this perfect moment. And I put a screenshot up for you guys because it's just so fucking dope and cool. And then you see all of them take part. Like I said, they all have equal time. I mean, even like Wonder Woman and like Aquaman have a moment in this movie, like when they're bringing up Superman's body, and like they both have their they're both their people used to say the same saying, and I was like, wait a minute. I was like, do you guys like know each other somehow? Like, was there a situation with an Atlantean and Amazon at some point? Like, I was just like looking at the potential of what could be. I was like, that's just cool, dude. Like, it was so much more well done in this movie. Everything was so much more fleshed out. Like I said, the story was told so much better. It was beautiful. Every single character had so much more. I mean, and also I want to mention Diane Lane because I love Diane Lane and I haven't mentioned her. She was so good in this as well. Like, I think Martha's always been like done dirty because people made the joke with the, you know, Batman v Superman. I liked it. I liked the Martha thing. I didn't put the connection there, and I've watched these characters for so long, and I like that scene. And I like how Diane Lane plays Martha. I think it's very cool. She's such a kind, genuine, like this beautiful like mother to not just Kent, to Clark, but like to Lois as well. And you see that in this, even though we find out it's actually Martian Manhunter, which I was like, that's my like one of my nitpicks is that like he wasn't in it enough for me to understand what he actually does. So like we basically see him take over Martha's body to like help Lois, and I was like, that's cool, but like sort of felt weird because I felt like it was Martha and I felt a little bit like betrayed, and I was like, what happens when Lois sees Martha again and she's like, hey Martha, thanks for that chat, and Martha's like, what? Like but like I didn't understand what he does, so he has very little to do with this, but for the most part, again, everything else was very much fleshed out. And I just want to point out Diane Lane because I think she's fucking awesome. I've watched so many of her movies. But obviously she's had so much influence in, from Man of Steel to BVS to Justice League. And I just think that that's really cool. And she also played a pivotal role in this. Everybody had their value in this movie at certain points of time, and that was so cool. But yeah, that sequence with like going back to that sequence again, like it was just so well done. And then you fast forward where, what was also really dope is like, and I mentioned that Barry has so much more input in this. Like he's still comedic, but it's like way less cheesy and inappropriate. And it's just he has more of a serious tone. Like he's really a part of this team. He really contributes. Like everybody contributes in this, and they all feel like a team. Like when you're going around the table and you actually see each of them talking and piecing it together. Like when they were gonna bring back Superman, like that was really fucking cool. And Barry's like, we're all thinking it, who's gonna say it? And like, it was just so cool to see that. And after that sequence, they have to take down Steppenwolf to make sure that Darkseid doesn't kill everything and come back. And like, it was so cool, like that fight sequence. And like, Steppenwolf is like going at Wonder Woman, he's like saying all this shit to her. And she's just like, so badass. It was so cool to see. And she comes in and like, there's like, it was so good to see, like, you see Flash, Cyborg and Aquaman. You see Aquaman and Cyborg, you see Aquaman and Batman, you see Wonder Woman, Cyborg and Aquaman. Like you see all these parts of the team working together. Wonder Woman saves Batman and then she's over there helping like Aquaman. And it was just so fucking cool to see them as a Justice League, to really see them all playing their part. And then Barry goes off and he like basically has to do Speed Force to change time to go back because he fucked up, which also, who knew Barry could heal? I didn't know that shit. And it's like, wait, what? And Barry it was so good. And you see like all this, like, you see all of them go through these heartache, painful moments and then just persevere for the League and for the world. And it was just so fucking inspiring and cool to see. But Cyborg has this pivotal role to play. And, you see him go back and he's like, I'm not broken, I'm not alone. And, and he does his job, and then Barry is the one that saves the Justice League. How cool is that? Like, Barry is the one that saves everybody at the end of the day. And Aquaman, Wonder Woman, and Superman actually all have a part to play in killing Steppenwolf. Like, they all, like, literally kill him together. Like, it was so fucking cool. Like, Aquaman, like, stabs him with the trident. Superman punches him, and then Wonder Woman has to get a last thing in, and she does this cool ass scene where she runs and then jumps up and like cuts his fucking head off, and then it's so fucking badass. Like it's so dark, but in such a cool, brutal way. And then Steppenwolf's like going into this like vortex of the other side where Darkseid is watching. And like you see Steppenwolf like going in, his body is just falling and his head just falls right in front of Darkseid. And Darkseid, by the way, is so fucking scary and formidable. Like he just crushes his head like it's nothing. And he's so scary. And like, just to touch on him for a minute, like first of all, that scene was so fucking dope. But then, you see the Justice League and they're like, you're not going to invade this planet. Like, it's so cool to see them all together when Supes finally does actually join them, because he's not very much in this movie, to be fair. But he was pretty, there was some cool moments when he was in there. Superman was basically more or less done pretty much the same. But yeah, and then you go back to Darkseid and like you see how formidable he is from that scene where, and again, this is where telling the story really plays a part, because like it's extended and you actually see the story. And I said to you guys when I was reviewing and updating, I was like, it's going to show Diana's side of it and the ancient like storytelling, all this stuff, and that's what happens here. Like you see Diana when she sees the flame in the Amazon temple and she goes to it, and you see like such a cool scene where she drops down like a fucking Indiana Jones with, she makes a fucking handmade torch and she drops down like Indiana Jones into this like temple cave situation. She's got this like flame like lantern that she's made, and she goes down and she's carrying the arrow. And it was so cool where they show like the door and the arrow, she lights it with the fire and the arrow actually goes in to unlock it. And then she goes into this tomb and she sees like the drawings and she sees the story being told through her her people, and then she lights it onto Darkseid and she's seeing the story. And it's so cool to see it told like that. You see what Diana's seeing and you understand it like the same way she does, because it's showing it in drawings, basically visually you're seeing it. and then she goes to dark side and you see the fear on her face because he looks so fucking formidable and scary, and he looks really fucking scary in here. Steppenwolf also, by the way, looks much better in this movie. He's got the spikes and he kind of like shines purple at times. It actually looks really cool. I thought that was an interesting effect they put in there. His face looks kind of funny at times. He looks like more innocent, but that's only because he's really the soldier. He's building up to help Darkseid to reinstate himself, to fix the mistakes that he's done, to fix the wrongs that he's made. So he's basically just trying to get a place back in the evil thrones of Darkseid, pretty much, and that was really cool. But yeah, the Darkseid stuff was very dope. I hope that we see a second movie. I mean, you can't just set us up like that and leave it like that. It was so well done. It was set up to, obviously have a sequel. I really fucking hope that Restore the Snyderverse happens. I hope that people and fans support this movie because it's so fucking good. And it would be such a fucking travesty that we don't get anything further. It's like, why couldn't we have gotten that before? But I'm just really happy that we got it now. I'm so grateful to Zack for what he did. It's just really beautiful, and you can see the tribute and his love letter to the fans and to these characters. The nitpicks, I will say, like the things I didn't like about it is I didn't like the music choice for the Aquaman scene where he goes out into when he's going out onto the the dock and he's about to jump into the water, he's drinking the whiskey. I didn't like the music choice for that. I felt like that was more of a Zack Snyder music choice than it was what would have amped up fans. I feel like the rock music probably would have been better for that sequence because it was badass in the trailer, and I think that could have matched it or something equal to that. I didn't like that music choice. I didn't like that the scene where Barry is he's basically everybody's trying to help each other and they're like, oh, Barry, get some people out. And in the first movie, if you guys remember, he's like, oh, I just push people and run out of the way. And that was gone. That's out of this movie. It's no longer here, which I liked. However, I didn't like that at the start of that sequence, Barry doesn't really do anything. He kind of just follows everybody and Cyborg's like, I've got this, Barry, get on with it. And that kind of to be fair, as much as I didn't like it just because I wanted more action, obviously, I did like a part of it because it did remind me of the animated. It reminded me of Barry being funny and being like, what do I do, guys? And that kind of a thing where they try to make it comedic without making a punchline kind of joke. So I kind of saw where it was coming from at the same time, but I didn't really like it because I wanted it to be, like I said, more action. I liked Barry being really much more involved. And everything with the Flash, the sequences, the visuals, it was so well done, especially when he goes back through time at the end of that and he saves the Justice League. And he's going back and he's like, make your own future, make your own past. And that was so symbolic of what he was basically doing because he was going back, he was changing time and he was going back, and that's why he said that. And I was just it was so cool to see all these things that I picked up on through, Zack's storytelling, through the character, the dialogue, and just the cinematography, like I said. It was really awesome. And again, the attention to detail, that sequence where, he's going through and it just, the slow motion of it all and the visual effects to, when he's saving Iris and he crashes through the glass, to the tape recorder that you see for Silas Stone, all these things that are pivotal to these characters, and it's just really cool, and it shows the value that they bring to the table, and it shows a little bit of them, and you saw that through Zack's promotion of this movie when they did the Mother Box sequence trailer, little teaser trailer. You see the essence of all these characters, and he just showcases that in the movie and tells so much story, and I said I love that about it. So again, guys, I really enjoyed this film. I give it an 8 out of 10, and the reason I don't give it any higher is because of these little nitpicks that I had, obviously. Like I said, the score with the Jason Momoa sequence I didn't like. I didn't like that little thing with the Flash. I'm sure there was something else I didn't really like. Oh, the mirror sequence where, she makes the bubble and her and Aquaman talk for the first time after he saves her, which, by the way, was so much better. When Steppenwolf's hitting him with the axe, and then he stops the axe and he looks at her. He just looks so fucking dope. There were some sequences with Aquaman real quick, and then the Stryker Island, that was done so much better, where you see Aquaman's it was so cool when he comes through the wave of the water and he's riding the top of the wave, and then he jumps through and he stops it and you see this beautiful sequence. That was just stunning and gorgeous. But yeah, going back to that scene with him and Mira for the first time, I didn't like the British accent. I didn't like how she sounded. I felt like it actually had more impact in the way she said it in the first movie. So there weren't many things that I liked for like this was better. This was a better movie than the first many one. Things that there were like very minor little things and moments where I felt like it could have been tweaked a little bit different. So there was only probably that I liked better, that was done better maybe in the first movie than it was here, only because I didn't like how thick her accent is. And so when she said, your mother left you, and you can't imagine how much it hurt her, like I didn't feel it with this accent, to be fair. I felt it more the first time around. But yeah, so there was like three things literally in this entire 4 hour movie. There were like three things. And also, like, by the way, in the Amazons, can I just mention the Amazons for a minute? Because the Amazons were done so much better. You flesh them out, you see the characters, you see, there's more representation in this movie as well. Like, you see an African American, warrior when like the mother box is going off and she's going to like touch it. She did such a good job. Like, I can't believe that they cut that. Like every actor really put, whether they had 5 seconds in this movie or 5 minutes in this movie, everyone really came to the table and brought their A game, and it was just so lovely to see. This really did feel, like I said, a cinematic like masterpiece in its own right, for genre film, especially for a comic book movie. Like, I just want to emphasize that, because it doesn't feel like that. It really does feel like just a beautiful film that just happens to have superheroes in it, to be fair, because it shows so much of the humanity and the heart and the emotion behind it, and all these slow-mo beautiful shots and these panoramic big, scoped like shots. Like, it makes you feel the elevation of everything. Like, the whole movie is elevated, that's what it is, and it's just beautiful. But the Amazons, I can't remember her name. Is it Connie Nielsen? I hope I didn't butcher it, but I'll edit this anyway. So, but she does such a good job. She plays Hippolyta, it's Diana's mum, and she does such a good job. Her emotion in these sequences, like when she had to leave her warriors behind in that giant building and it collapsed, like you see the emotion as the doors close behind her. You see the emotion on her face when everything's collapsing. You see the emotion as she loses a warrior and a fellow like daughter of hers, like, because that's how she sees them all, as these like daughters of hers. And it's like, she did such a good job. So I can't wait to see more of the Amazons. That was so cool to see like those sequences and to see how they live and how they did stuff. And every time I see anything with the Amazons, I'm just like, please show me more. So it's fantastic. So I can't wait to see more of that. I hope we get more. It was cool to see Robin Wright also for like 1 second. But I really hope we do some sort of like flashback or Amazon series or something, because like, I mean, I'm sure we'll see more of it in Wonder Woman 3, but like, it was just so cool and so well done. And again, I want to emphasize how everybody really plays their part so well in this movie, so well. And I feel like there was, and the chick that, like the scene we see in the first Justice League where she, she throws like her bow and arrow, and she gets off the horse as one of the Amazons, and she gets off the horse, and then she like grabs it, she lassos it, and she does this, and then she like flicks it before Steppenwolf kills her. Now in the movie, you see her in the Age of Heroes, so she's been around for a very, very long time, and I think her name was Philippus, which was really weird because I thought that was a different character, but like I'm sure that they say that to her as she's leaving the cave. But like you see the emotion on her face, like you see that she knows she's about to die, but like she does it. They're just so brave and so badass, and like especially you see that with the sequence where Steppenwolf first comes in and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna bathe in your fear," and she's like, "Show him your fear," and they're like, "We have no fear," and it was just, they are so fucking badass, and these women are so fit when they're like hitting the hammers, and you see like their 6-pack, like it just, they are, it's and Zack Snyder did, Zack Snyder did 300, so there is a lot of this that has tones of 300, and for obvious reasons. Zack showcases the warrior in these women and the emotion at the same time, the same way you see Zeus. Like all of that whole thing looked like a 300 sequence with different characters, really. And again, so did the Amazon sequences. It really made you feel like these were these primitive warriors, that defenders of Earth, and it was just so fucking cool to see. And that's why I feel like we need to go and explore that history more. It was just beautiful. This movie was just, yeah, it was on another level. I've seen it 3 times. I think I'm going to see it another 3 times. It was great. So I very much highly recommend watching this movie. Like I said, I give it an 8 out of 10, just because there were a few little tiny things that I have to nitpick at. But overall, I love this movie. Like I said, I wasn't in love with it. It wasn't the best thing I've ever seen in the world. So it's not like my number 1 DC film, although it's up there. It's like very, very close. I think Wonder Woman's still gonna take the cake as Wonder Woman, but yeah, this movie was really, really good. Just again, as a cinematic experience for someone who loves movies like I do, just based on that, watch this movie. It's beautiful. I find it to believe that anybody would not like this movie or find like hate on this movie, because from what I've seen, the reviews are pretty positive, and that's really great. I hope that HBO, and Warner Brothers does something with this. I really hope that Warner Brothers listens to the fans and looks at the audience and sees that people really love this direction that Zack was taking the characters in, and I really want them to restore the Snyderverse. And I know it's a hoping and praying, but like, you know what, the fans did all this. The fans made this possible, so I just hope that more can be done, because I would love to just see these characters at least do one more Justice League film and give us a sequel to this, because it was so well done, and it would be a travesty of justice to not watch the sequel to this. I really need to see Darkseid, so please show us that. But again, guys, show me what you guys think in the comments below. Let me know how you felt about it, if you've seen it. But I really liked it. So yeah, that's my review of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe if you're new. And yeah, I'll see you guys soon. Bye.